aim is for the UN's Sustainable Development Goals to be achieved by 2030 by the globe, but the African Union's Agenda 2063 seeks to ensure the elimination of poverty, inequality and hunger, with a vast improvement in socio-economic access for the vast majority of its citizens to ensure greater life chances and prosperity by 2063. The principles in both are more or less the same, but due to developmental challenges on the continent, some may argue that Agenda 2063's aims are a bit more realistic. The UN DESA and African peer review mechanism work has been emphasizing on the importance of strong institutions.
We need to make sure public institutions have the capacities to find solutions which help them to lay the foundation for meeting the climate challenges, but also ensuring access to energy is not denied to their citizens. And they're also able to deal with the cost of living crisis.
Hanif says the African peer review mechanism is a critical program for enabling African countries to learn from each other around the methods they're using to achieve a more capable and effective state to tackle the many challenges facing the continent, like climate change and food security. But there are some African countries with insufficient fiscal resources that will need support to achieve the SDGs.
We have called for SDG stimulus, a plan that will give developing countries, and especially Africa, access to long-term, low-interest rate loans, which are critical for energy transition, food security, water security, because they require long-term investment.
The UN says development finance institutions like the African Development Bank are also on hand to aid with projects, but ultimately the strong advice for African countries is that they need to open up their economies to the private sector and foreign direct investment and to further develop their financing systems.
Investors are saying capital markets in Africa are underdeveloped. If you can't do it at the national level because the market size is small, do it at sub-regional level. So develop your capital markets. That will attract investment and that will open opportunities for investors to use instruments for de-risking. So that's one recommendation for African collaboration.
In September next year, the UN is holding a mid-term review of the global progress that's been made in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals in New York. It will be calling on all its country members to share their experiences and to give further input on how to ensure that the SDGs are achieved come 2030. Nompumelelo, Siziba, SABC News, Johannesburg.